Before Americans vote in November, there's another election most people pay way less attention to, and it's unfolding right now. Sometimes called the election before the election, primaries are used across the U.S. to determine which candidates will appear on the general ballot in November. There are many important races happening right now, but congressional primaries tend to draw the most attention because they ultimately shape the makeup of Congress for the next 2 years. Most primary elections are used to determine each political party's candidate for the general election. So, instead of Democrats and Republicans competing against each other, candidates within the same party face off to become their party's official nominee. Across the US, 47 states use what's known as a party primary system. Within this system, there are different rules about who can vote. In open primaries, all eligible voters, including independents, can vote in one party's primary election. This means that voters don't need to be registered with that party, but they can only participate in one party's primary at a time. Let's dig a bit deeper. In many states, all registered voters can choose which election they would like to participate in. In 15 of these states, voters choose their party primary on election day, but this choice then affiliates them with that party. Overall, this type of system gives voters the most flexibility. The other 11 states have a hybrid system called a semi-open party primary. In this system, independent voters can choose which primary to participate in, but voters registered with a party must stick to that party's contest. In a closed primary, only voters who registered with a political party have a guaranteed right to vote in that party's primary. This would mean that independent voters are barred from participating. However, parties can establish a rule where independent voters may register with a party on the day of the election or by a specific deadline to be able to vote. To date, only Democratic parties across 5 states have adopted this rule. No Republican parties allow it. Finally, 3 states, Alaska, California, and Washington, use open all-candidate primaries. In this system, all candidates appear on one ballot, regardless of political party, and all voters participate in the same primary election. Instead of selecting party nominees, the primary simply determines which candidates advance to the general election. California and Washington use a top 2 system, where the top 2 vote-getters move on to November. Alaska, on the other hand, uses the top 4 system, where voters rank candidates and, if needed, instant runoff is held to ensure that there is a majority winner. One advantage of open all-candidate primaries is that every voter can participate regardless of party affiliation, and the eventual winner must secure majority support. In many parts of the country, congressional districts tend to lean heavily toward one political party versus the other. Take a look at this congressional map of California, for example. Due to trends like this across the US, analysts suggest that more than 90% of congressional races will be decided in the primary. This means that the most competition really happens during the primary, where you get to vote for who will represent your district in Congress. In addition, voter turnout is actually historically low for primaries, with data suggesting that only around 20% of the American electorate actually showing up to vote in these elections. That means that a smaller group of voters can end up deciding which candidate makes it onto the final ballot, and in many cases, who ultimately represents them in Congress. In sum, primaries don't just shape the ballot, they shape the outcome of the election itself. Thanks for watching Primary 101. If you guys have any more questions about these types of elections, feel free to just comment them below and we'll get back to them.